Hey dudes, welcome to the Witch Awakening Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Rippey. I'm a spiritual and awakening coach for witchy women who want to connect to their inner witch and manifest their magical as fuck life. So today I want to introduce myself and let you know who I am. Because who the fuck am I anyway, right? Alright, so I was born a medium. I used to have ghosties in my bedroom. And, at night be laying there and there's like a little dude in the corner and it's like, oh, okay, what is that? And I would go tell my mom and she would be like, it's your imagination or you were dreaming or all the things that parents used to say to us, not any fault of their own. They just didn't know any better. So, I would go back in my room and be like, whatever. Okay, but there's still a guy over there. So what? And, I spent my childhood being afraid and not knowing who they were or what they wanted and not being brave enough to really say anything to them. So I just would hide under the covers and ignore them, as we do. And that went on my whole childhood. And, then you grow into a teen. And in my teens, I dealt with it by just ignoring it. I completely blocked it out and basically just was like, leave me alone, don't talk to me, which led me down a path of dealing with severe anxiety and some self-harm things that I had going on, trying to deal with all of these ghosty friends that I did not know how to handle. The energy when you're ignoring spirits and your gifts, it doesn't go away just because we ignore it. It's still there, and it causes us nothing but trouble usually when we are trying to ignore it as hard as we can. They still come, they still want to do what they want to do, giving us our messages and whatnot, but we're just ignoring them, which doesn't usually work out the best for us. So that was my experience being a teenager with gifts and completely trying to ignore them, was that I dealt with severe anxiety, being afraid of the dark, being out at night was really hard for me, and it even led me down the path of self-harm. So, all the things I was trying to do to cope with what was going on, that I really didn't know or understand what was happening. But that was how that manifested in my life and how I dealt with that. Fast forward to my 20s, and, this was a time where I was just busy with life. I had a baby, and then I was a single parent for a lot of my 20s. I just didn't have fucking time to think about or deal with spirit stuff. I still had the anxiety, still was dealing with some self-harm. It was getting better, as I was in my 20s, but it still was there. It was just, my way of coping with what was going on with me, and I didn't understand any of it. So that was where I was in my 20s. I was just a busy single mom living my life. Toward the end of my 20s, I met my husband and I moved to a different state and got married and had a bunch of more kids. So I have 4 kids. One, obviously, that I had at the age of 20, and then was a single mom for 7 years with him, and then met my husband on the internet. Yes, we met on the internet, and ended up falling in love, deciding I wanted to move to where he was. He had a less portable job than I did, so it was easier for me to move where he was. So I moved there and to a new state, and about 8 hours away from where I grew up and where I had been living. And then we popped out 3 kids together right away. Bing, bing, bing. And so I did not have time to even wipe my own ass, let alone think about spiritual things when I had 3 under 3 at one point, plus a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old. So it was chaotic, to say the least. And then I got into my 30s, and I still was raising the kids, and I was a stay-at-home mom, and my husband worked, and I was doing that for a good chunk of my 30s, right? And then we decided we wanted to move back to where I'm from, back to Iowa, and we moved back here, and I got involved in I went to a class and met a friend who we started watching kind of ghosty shows together, and I expressed that it made me afraid, that I was nervous, and she encouraged me to not be afraid of my gifts, that there was nothing to be afraid of, that I should embrace it and I should do more with it. So I took that into consideration and started exploring that a little bit, and started looking into metaphysical things and like things in my area, because I really had no experience with it whatsoever. So I literally just Googled metaphysical shops near me, and then went in and found the one that, well, actually it was just the first one I saw, and I went in there and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna not talk to anybody. I'm gonna go in here, just check this out, see see what's up and whatever. And I had looked at their website a little bit and had seen, the people the practitioners that practice there and whatever, and kind of connected with one. I was like, ooh, yeah. So I go in and I'm like looking around at crystals and stuff. I had no idea what I was doing, no idea what I was looking at. I was just looking around, and I walked in, and behind the counter is, you're never going to guess, the one lady that I had been looking at, that I felt like I connected with her energy. And I almost pooped my pants. I literally was like, oh my God, there she is. What the hell? So I just was hoping she wouldn't talk to me, because I was like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, oh my God. I was almost embarrassed because I just didn't know what was happening. And so I'm looking around and decided to get a few crystals, and just grabbed like the little tumbled stones. They had like 5 for a couple bucks, so I was like, okay, it's a good gateway, right? So I grabbed some of those, go up to pay, and of course she's the one at the register, and she's kind of smiling at me funny, and I think she could tell that like I was avoiding her. And so then she started talking to me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna crap my pants. So I talked to her a little bit, and then I bought my crystals and signed up for their newsletter and left. So I started following them on Facebook and just kind of watching what was happening. And they had classes, and there was a bunch of free stuff going on. This is pre-pandemic times when we were allowed to go into shops and whatnot. So there was a lady that was doing a free workshop every week, and there was one that was about Reiki, and that one was Reiki for some reason was really intriguing to me, and it just seemed like I felt drawn to go to that. So I was like, okay, it's free, whatever, I'll just go sit in the corner and be quiet and see what's up. So I go to this class and end up meeting a person who is currently still one of my best friends, one of my deepest friends. Like, we're kind of soul connected. So now I know that I was meant to go to this class, number one, to kind of open my eyes to Reiki and like spiritual people, and to meet this person. And so I went to this class. I'm sitting there, I'm like checking it out, met these people who I connected with on social media so I could keep up with them and all of this. And then I kept watching their social medias, and they ended up having a shaman class, which I was really drawn to. And I was like, okay, so I'll go check this out. They had the first month was like a free, like, come see if this is right for you type of deal. And I'm like, okay, I'll just go see what this is all about. Show up, and guess who is the teacher? Totally the lady I had connected with on the internet, on their website, and then had seen the first time I went in there. It was funny. Spirit has jokes, right? So I ended up signing up for the class. And so once a month I went in. There was a year-long class. So I went in there and was doing that class. And I made it about 3/4 of the way through before I realized that while I found it fascinating and interesting, and I loved connecting with everyone, and I learned a lot of really great tools that I still use today, the shamanic journey was not for me. I was not a shaman. I didn't feel called to that life. I didn't feel called to that. So I ended up kind of dropping out. I probably should have just finished the class. I was almost done with it. But I didn't feel like I was getting what I needed out of the class. And I didn't feel, it wasn't resonating with me anymore. So I just left that experience and started exploring. During the class, they had encouraged me to start doing readings because I am a very talented medium, and that was starting to show itself during the shaman class. I was connecting with fairies mostly, to be honest. They were the ones that were coming through and the ones that wanted to connect with me. So that's who I was talking to. And they, the mentor that had been teaching me was saying, nobody does fairy readings, especially around here. That's not, at the time, it just wasn't a very common thing. I don't think it still is, really. And so she was like, if you offered fairy readings, you would be, people would be flocking to you. And so I was like, well, okay. So I considered that for a while. And then there was an opening at the shop, and they were like, hey, you want to rent some space here to do these readings? And I'm like, sure. So I ended up becoming a practitioner there, working with the mentor that I was so starstruck to meet the first time I had met her, which was kind of funny. We laugh about that now. But so I was there for a few months doing readings, and I just found that I didn't love doing readings in person. I just didn't. And so I closed that up. I stopped renting space there. I still offered readings online. This is when I started transitioning more to online work. And I started a Facebook page and started doing lives online and doing readings on there, and met another friend who encouraged me to embrace my mediumship more. And I was super resistant to that for some reason. I just didn't want to admit that I was a medium for some reason. Just using that word made me uncomfortable, and I'm not sure why. Because connecting with fairies and angels and all the other things I was doing, that's being a medium, right? It is being a medium. But I just didn't want to admit that I was a medium. And so she encouraged me, sort of pushed me over the cliff, actually, to embrace my mediumship. And I started doing that more and reading, connecting with loved ones for people, and doing that for a while. All while building my business, I was doing readings for people. I started getting paid more than I had originally started out with, and doing readings. And then I wanted to teach people how to do what I do. A lot of people had been asking me, I wish I could do what you do. How do you do that? And it just came to me that I needed to start a class. So I started my at the time it was called Spiritual Gifts for Smarties, Not Dummies. And it was a class that taught about the clair gifts and how to use them, how to connect with them, how to connect with spirits, how to do readings, how to do all of that stuff. And it was pretty popular. I ran that for several years off and on, and I've had a lot of people go through that class and have great success with that. And it made me fall in love with teaching. And so that kind of became my new focus. And so I've been, throughout my 30s, I've been healing and going to healers and working with my energy and dark night of the soul and all the things that you do when you're on your spiritual awakening path. And all the time I was doing readings and teaching and doing lives on Facebook, and just, it's been a ride. And then, I hit my 40s, and I still keep changing and growing. I mean, that's a never ending process, of course. And I embrace my inner witch, and I have never been happier. Honestly, she was the one that was trying to come through the entire time. And now that I have embraced my inner witch, and I'm witchy, and I'm out there, and I'm doing spells and magic, and I'm helping other people learn how to do it, and doing those services for other people, and using it in my life, and just embracing my witchiness, I feel the most fulfilled and the most free. And I tell you, my inner witch is so happy that she gets to be hanging out in front of everyone. And I just don't give a fuck what anybody thinks, which getting to that place, it's been a journey, but that is what I want to help other people do, is find, that inner witch and connect with her and let her fly, let her be free, let her be what people see. It's amazing. It feels amazing. It's a very freeing, fulfilling place to be. So that is my story in a nutshell. I picked up a ton of certifications. I was featured in Kindred Spirit magazine. I wrote an article for them, and I just sent in an article, and they chose it to be published. And that's run by Hay House, one of the most popular publishing companies in the metaphysical world. So that was pretty cool. They sent me a free book, and so it was kind of fun. So I've done a lot of things over the years in my spiritual journey, and it's still early. We still have lots of time to develop and grow. But here we are. We're doing a podcast. We're still live on Facebook. We're still doing readings and teaching classes and all the things. So that's me. I wanted to introduce myself before I get into all my other stuff that we're going to be covering here. And thanks for joining me today. You can connect with me over on Facebook in the Witch Awakening Facebook group, and go over there and tell me your awakening story. I love to hear how different everybody's story is, because it's just super different for everyone, and it's fascinating to see how we all get where we are. I'll put that link in the show notes, so down below you can go find that and click there and head over and let us know. And I wanted to let you know what I have going on right now. The doors are open for my membership, Spiritual Empowerment League. And in there, I do a teaching each month, and we have a guest teacher each month sharing their magic. And we do live readings, have hangouts so that we can just hang out and drink wine and whatever your favorite drink is, and grow your tribe. And you have access to my candle ceremonies every month that I'm not offering to the public right now, so that's a bonus. And so this is an amazing fucking place, and it's a great place to grow and connect with your inner witch, and all the things. And we have like a shit ton of fun in there, so we would love to have you. I'll put the link for that as well if you want to go get more information on that or join. The doors will only be open for like another week or so. So if you go to the website and the doors are not open right now, get on that waiting list, and then you will be able to know when those open back up for people to come in and join us there. All right, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.